Have you ever poured your heart into a set of granny squares, only to pause and think, this just isn't it? Maybe it's the colors that aren't singing to you anymore, or it's the project you planned that feels off somehow. I'm telling you, I've been there. And today we're going to talk about what to do when your crochet doesn't go as planned. So first off, maybe I'll start by sharing mine. These granny squares were made with cotton yarn. It was a project I had planned to make a very colorful cardigan, and I made everything. I bought the yarn, and the first mistake I did was buying the yarn in bulk. I had never worked with this yarn before, but I could finally afford it. It was nice, soft cotton yarn, and when you buy in bulk, you get a deal. So I decided to buy in bulk and go work on it. I liked the picture online. When I went there, it was softer than I thought it would be, but I still bought it. I bought a bunch of this yarn. I bought a lot of it. I came back to the house. I already had a pattern written down for it. Worked on the pattern, worked on the squares, and deep down, the feeling won't go away that something just isn't right about this project, but I still kept going at it. I made the squares that I needed for the cardigan. I even managed to join a few, but the love for the project just wasn't there. The yarn was too soft, and to be honest, when I make something, I want to know that 1, I'm going to use it. 2, if I'm not going to use it, I know someone who will and I'm going to gift it. Or 3, I'm going to give it away to someone in need. And this didn't fit any of those 3 categories, so I didn't even know why I was still bothering. I kept going, kept just using up time, using up yarn, because I felt that loss. Like, how can I have bought the yarn and not work with it? So I decided to keep going. Maybe the love would just grow.
It did not grow.
It did not grow, I'm telling you. So I ended up with a bunch of these squares, all made, some joined, not liking it, not liking the project, not even liking the drape of the cardigan, the few pieces I had joined. It just felt so loose. This yarn maybe would have been awesome if it was maybe a classic granny square pattern that I was using, or something else, or any other pattern. But for this pattern, it did not work. I did not like it. And what usually happens when crocheters don't like a project happened with me. I put it in a basket, put it aside, and forgot about it. Every now and then, whenever I'm looking for yarn or something, I'd come across them and I'd just get angry and put them aside. But a couple of weeks ago, I ran into them again and I just looked at them and I thought maybe we'd start off by just unraveling the squares that I had joined together so that I have all the squares. Maybe I could plan something else with them, and still nothing. So if you are where I am, we are going to take a deep breath. And I'm going to tell you it's perfectly normal to fall out of love with a project, as I did with this one. Creativity isn't always linear, and just because something doesn't fit now doesn't mean it's a failure, because clearly these squares are gorgeous, the yarn superb, but not loving it for some reason. So I'm choosing to think of these granny squares as a page in my creative journal. It meant something when I started making it, even if the meaning shifted. So instead of seeing this as orphan squares or wasted effort, I'm going to reframe it as raw material for something new. Amen? Amen. And now we get to the fun part, what the video is all about. What can you actually do with those extra granny squares that are just not bringing you joy anymore? So first off, the first thing you can do is you can mix and match projects. If you have a bunch of these squares, you can combine them to form different sets for a colorful blanket or even a throw pillow. It's like a patchwork blanket, if you will. I remember there's a website that has this curl every year, the patchwork curl, where a designer contributes a square. I've forgotten the name of the curl, I've forgotten the website. But I'm sure by the time I'm editing this video, I'll have figured it out. I'm going to link a photo of one of the blankets I made and the website that hosts that curl. And it's just different squares joined together and they form a blanket, and it looks really nice. I still actually have one of the blankets and I use it every day, and it's really wonderful. So consider that. Consider making a mix and match project. The second thing that you can do with them is making accessory magic. You can make a tote, you can make a scarf or a blanket or even a headband, and I've recently seen some really nice bandanas made from granny squares. You can consider making that as well. Even for these squares, I considered making a tote, but the thing is, am I gonna use it? Do I know someone who's gonna use it? No to both. So tote was out. So for me, mix and match is out and accessory magic is out. And the third thing you can do with your squares is gifting with purpose. You can turn them into coasters or mug rags or bookmarks depending on the size. and you can add a note of encouragement as a way to bless someone with it. What I did with, I remember I had bought one of the yarns I had bought to experiment with was blanket yarn. No, not blanket yarn, t-shirt yarn. I'm sorry, t-shirt yarn. And also didn't like it. I did not like it, but I had it, so I ended up making granny square coasters. And I didn't know what I was going to do with these coasters, but my niece loves them. She loved these coasters, so I decided to gift them to her. She was 4 at the time, and she used them for playing. She used them to put her cup when she's drinking tea because she sees people using coasters. She feels grown up. She uses them in her make-believe kitchen. She uses them all over the place, and it brought me joy to actually know that it wasn't a waste. Like somebody is actually enjoying these coasters. So you can think of doing the same thing with your granny squares. Maybe there's a way you can turn them into something else that someone would love or appreciate. Another way of using up your granny squares is to donate them. I know for me here in Kenya, I'm a member of Crochet Kenya, and Crochet Kenya accepts granny square donations. So if you have a bunch of granny squares with you and you don't know what to do with them, donate them. If you're in another country or another continent, I'm sure there are places in your country that accepts granny squares. I know most people who do donations accept them. So what Crochet Kenya does is they're just women who are dedicated to joining the squares. They'll receive the squares, they're really fast at joining and really fast at making the border. So they'll receive them and decide, depending on the weight used in the squares and the design, whether it's going to be a baby blanket or a blanket for an older person or any other size of blanket they're going to make. So they'll join the squares and then form them into a blanket that will later donate to either hospitals, hospices, or homes. And the fifth thing you can do with your granny squares is to make wall art with them. I know I've made wall art with one of my granny squares, the eye granny square. I just turned it around, added fringe, added a loop at the top, and voila. Oh, and added some pearls, and it became a really nice piece of wall art. Or you can frame it and keep it for yourself as a tangible reminder of where you've been. Personally, my granny squares, these ones, I've decided I'm going to make, I think, a dress or a cardigan for my niece. And if it's a dress, I'm going to do one of those crochet, half sewn dresses where the bodice is crochet and the bottom half is going to be some sort of fabric, probably cotton. I think that's what I'm going to do. And maybe make a colorful cardigan for her because she's outgrowing everything at this point. So that's what I've decided to do with these squares. And that could be another idea too. You can decide to make your squares into a mix and match project. These ideas aren't just about saving yarn. They're about honoring the time, the emotion, and the hands that actually went into making these squares. And you know, it got me thinking that life can be like this sometimes too. We start with a plan, a dream, or a calling, and somewhere along the way it changes. And it's easy to feel like we've wasted our time. But just like those granny squares you have aren't a waste of time, these granny squares aren't a waste of time. Nothing is wasted when you learn, when you grow, when you laugh through it, and please, for the love of all that's holy,
don't make the same mistake again.
For instance, I learned with these squares. When I see yarn that I love, when I see yarn that I want to experiment with, I won't buy in bulk. I'll buy a ball or two, work with it, get the feel of it, and if I really like it, I'll go for it again and buy a bulk of it. If not, I don't feel so bogged down by the fact that I have all this yarn. And that's one of the things that actually kept me going with this project despite knowing that I wasn't loving it, was that I had all this yarn and I felt that I had to use it because I had bought it. So please, just
Snip it at the bud.
snip it at the bud. Don't go too far. If you're holding a basket of half-loved squares right now, you just have granny squares, and you know every time you see them you're sad or mad or both, don't despair. You're not alone. Everyone has that basket of something. So get creative, give them new life, or simply give yourself grace and move on. You don't have to hold on to them. And I think that's why it's even good to donate them, because you know that this effort isn't going to waste. Someone is actually going to use them. Something is going to come out of it to help someone else. Your creativity is not defined by one project. You are not defined by one project. So, my dear friend, have you ever had a project that didn't go as planned? Do you have granny squares hidden somewhere in your house that no one knows about? Or maybe people know about
And they just don't talk about it.
what do you do with them? What have you done with them? Share your story in the comments with me. I'd love to hear about them. I'd love to help you out. And if this video gave you a little hope or a few ideas, share that too. And I think that's it for me today. I'd actually come to share a tutorial on how to make these lovely squares. I actually even have all the yarn. I'm telling you. all the yarn with me here, and the hook that I keep flipping was for a tutorial. But yeah, I just had to share because even looking at them, I still feel a bit heartbroken by them, that they couldn't be what I wanted them to be. But you can't really force things to be what you want, really, can you? No, you cannot. So until next time, remember, it's okay to let go, to start over, or to pivot.